Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I'm Nicole Everett, your host. And Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about something interesting and intriguing. Tonight, I have Dr. Anthony Dixon, who is no stranger to Conversations with Nicole. And we are talking Up From Incarceration, which is the title of his book that talks about his journey. So I guess that makes it kind of by what do you call it? A biography of sorts. And so I'm super excited and delighted to have him on. I actually saw him on TikTok talking about this book, and I was like, what is this book? I have never heard of this book before and all of the things that he has promoted. And so I said, I got to have him on here to talk about this. So at any rate, before I bring him on, I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Your comments and questions are very much so welcome. So please put your city and state in the comments so we can give you a shout out. Happy MLK Day. We honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this national holiday. I was out today hosting the City of Tallahassee's MLK Day Festival in front of City Hall and the Day of Dialogue discussion. I had a great panel and great engagement with the community as it relates to all of that. So thank you, City of Tallahassee, for hosting that. And I know today, right now, in fact, as we speak, the game is going on between UM and Indiana. But I appreciate y'all who are tuning in spite of. So for those of you who are missing this live, you can, of course, catch the replay. So let us know if you are catching the replay in the comments. Just give us a shout out in the comments. I see Mr. Warren Cave is on. Thank you for being here. Clean Start Conversations Global. All right. Tallahassee by way of Miami. Love it, love it, love it. Now, I know there'll be more folks joining us. And if not, again, we totally understand because the big game is on. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of Dr. Dixon's bio, which is really extensive, but I'm gonna abbreviate it somewhat. Anthony E. Dixon, Dr. Anthony E. Dixon is a public historian whose expertise is in African American and African diaspora history and culture. In 2007, he received his PhD from Indiana University in history, where he concentrated on African diaspora history. He also holds a Master's of Information Science from the Florida State University, Go Noles. And his earlier studies include a bachelor's and master's degree from the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, Go Rattlers. As a historian, he served on the Florida African American History Task Force under the Florida Department of Education. His curriculum has drawn national attention as a result of changes instituted by Governor DeSantis. During his 15 years as a professor, he was awarded a grant by the National Endowment of the Humanities and established a public history program at Bethune-Cookman University. From 2007 to 2017, he served as a Florida commissioner on the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor Commission. In the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor is the only national heritage area dedicated to African Americans under the Department of Interior and National Park Services. He has published 3 books, and is the founder and president of the Archival and Historical Research Associates, a public history firm that works with libraries, museums, and historical sites dedicated to the African American as well as African diaspora experience throughout the country. Again, accolades go on and on, but I want to go ahead and bring them on because we got a lot to talk about. So, y'all help me welcome Dr. Anthony Dixon.
Hey, good evening, sister. How are you?
Oh, well, how are you?
I am good, sister. How you feeling?
Good, I'm good, I'm good. So glad to have you on here. So, Dr. Dixon, tell the people who is Dr. Anthony Dixon, not what you do, because we know you do a lot and have done a lot, but who are you in your own words?
Uh, I am I am a person that is I am what most people some people like to think is kind of it makes them feel uneasy, but I always say that I am an African American, meaning I am black first and American second. And so sometimes that makes people feel uneasy, but that is who I am. And so my roots lie in Georgia. I was born and raised in Georgia, raised on about almost 5 acres with chickens, goats, and cows. And from that experience, I am forever grateful to my parents and particularly my father for instilling in me a solid work ethic. And it is the work ethic that has gotten me back on track in life and has continues to push me forward and progress in life, not only just in accolades, but as a human being in development as well.
Love it. Thank you so much for that. And so, I see a few more folks have joined us. I want to definitely acknowledge them. Ms. Shanita, happy Dr. MLK Jr. Day. Yes, thank you so much for being here. My brother Terrell Bowman, who was here in Tallahassee. Yes, happy MLK Jr. Day, everyone. Thank you so much. And my mom down in Miami, who I know has the game on, probably in the other room, but because listen, the game is going on about a mile away from her house. So there's a lot of activity going on. Let's see. Janita Nakota Afro is giving its own audit listing. It is. We got the fro going on today. It's all good. All right. Listen, the fro is freedom, okay? And that's what Dr. King was all about. So we got to have the freedom fro today for for Dr. MLK Day. All right.
Sounds good. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes. So let's talk about this book. So up from incarceration again, I had a chat with you over the winter holiday and you gave me an earful because I didn't know this part of your history. And so talk to me about just kind of the inspiration behind the book and give a little bit of the backstory for folks that may not even know what the book is all about.
Okay. The abbreviated version quickly about the backstory is, again, I was born and raised in Fort Valley, Georgia, grew up in the country, and I left Fort Valley at the age of 17. I was very immature. Um, and so I get to Florida A&M and I'm finding my way, right? And I'm going through this process, in search of manhood and all of that good stuff. And I'm finding it and searching for it in the wrong ways. And so, long story short, well, the short version, and we'll get into some of the particulars later, is that after about 5.5 years at Florida A&M, I'm doing all kind of positive things, but I'm also doing a lot of negative things as well. Getting caught in this lure of fast money. And so I end up basically watching my college graduation in 1994. I'm watching my college graduation from the county jail, from Leon County Jail. And from Leon County Jail, I went directly. And when I say directly, I do mean directly. From the night I committed my crime, I didn't have any. Some of my charges were no bond, so I literally went directly from Florida A&M University to the Florida Department of Corrections, where
Right.
I did 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, that was my transformation when I had to take a good, solid, deep look at myself. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
blame it on my parents. Um, couldn't blame it on any of my circumstances because I had a solid upbringing. My father was a professor for 44 years at Fort Valley State. My mother was is a retired principal and school board. Did 2 stints on the school board, and
Mm-hmm.
so couldn't blame it on that. Couldn't blame it on the white man either. I
Mm-hmm.
had to take a solid look at myself and know that I put myself there and I did it to myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I basically prayed, that if I was able to get out and get another chance at life, I would I would make amends and be the person that I know my parents had raised me to, and a much better life than what I had presently chosen.
Yeah.
And so I always have to give him credit because my family was solid and they stood behind me and they believed in me. But also I had one professor in particular who believed in me, and that was Dr. Larry Rivers. And Dr. Rivers would communicate with me throughout my incarceration time, send me books to read that I should have been reading all along, all
Mm-hmm.
of that good stuff. And so when I got out, um, basically I had to earn my way back into FAMU by not from my grades because, of course, 5.5 years later, things had changed. The criteria had escalated. FAMU was getting a little tougher to get into, but I was able to get in what was considered the hardest way, particularly for us. When I say us, for blacks, and that's through the graduate record exam, through the GRE exam.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to get into FAMU through the GRE, and Dr. Rivers continued to mentor me. He made me his graduate assistant and kind of kept a close eye on me as I continued to develop and get my life right. And so I am forever grateful for Dr. Rivers for helping turn my life around. And from there, from my master's at Florida A&M, I went to Indiana University on a full fellowship, and I received my PhD in 2007. And so I wrote this book for young people because in that time, um, it was obvious, that through music, particularly through music and in the community, there was all of this talk that glorified this path in life, right? That glorified going to jail and glorified going to prison. And so a lot of it I knew from experience, firsthand experience, was a myth, and so um, and some of it was just pure D foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
and one in particular for me, and we see young people all the time doing it, but I was guilty of it myself, and that is listening to others, being this follower,
Mm-hmm.
and using something as a mantra for your life that really is fiction.
Yeah.
And today is normally through the music and through these rap lyrics and songs. But for me back then, it was a movie, and that movie was Scarface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous, as mature people, we think about how ridiculous it is, but as young people with the lure of fast money and the things of that nature, how
Mm-hmm.
you can use a movie or you can use lyrics to make this as a blueprint for your life.
Mm.
And so I wrote the book for young people and their family as well. So when you hear your nephew, your daughter, your niece, your son your cousin, when you hear them saying certain things, these are trigger words. These are things you need to pull them to the side and understand what they're really saying.
Yes.
And so again, the book is called Up From Incarceration, Volume 1, Dispelling the Myths of the Thug Life, right? Because that's the thing. I talk about the things that people incarcerated and who come home won't talk about. They won't talk about how much you truly miss your loved ones. They don't talk about how days you sit there and you looking at that booth, you looking at that visitation booth, and you wait for anybody, you waiting for a card, you waiting for a phone call, to be able to make a phone call, a letter, or anything, to be connected with your family and friends out there. They don't talk about how your life is put on hold for that time while everybody else's life is moving forward. And when I got out, I'm talking to people and friends, people that I went to FAMU with, people that I grew up with, and it's catching on to me. These aren't the same people. Just like you got changed by going to college and then being incarcerated. They've grown as well. They're not the same. You just were frozen in time for those 5.5 years, not them. And so, and then of course, what it does to your family.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the hardest things, watching my mother, my incarceration affect my mother. My mother lost weight. I never forget one time I had a disagreement with an officer, with a CO, and I was placed into confinement. And so she came to see me while I was in the hole. But because I hadn't been found guilty or anything, they still allowed me to have a visit. But in my visit, because I was in the hole, I was coming out of confinement, they had me completely shackled. And so that was my mother's first time ever seeing me since court, being completely shackled and being shackled, within confinement. She saw, the handcuffs they take off for you when you come into court and whatnot. But she had never seen me shackled from head to toe, know. And so that the look on, I'll never forget. Here I am. I'm far removed from it, more than 25 years now. Well, right at about 25 years, but I still never forget the look on my mother's face when when they brought me in and she was sitting there and she saw me shackled from head to toe. And these are the things that they don't put in the songs, they don't put in the movies,
right?
And so these are the things that I put in the book. Here is the real side of it. Here is the side of the friends you're going to lose that you thought were your friends that are not going to stick by you. Here are the people who are going to go on with their lives while you're frozen in time, so to speak. And here are the things that go on in incarceration, in prison, that you need to be aware of before you make all of these choices that'll get you here. And so that is why I wrote the book.
All right. So that's really deep. And, as you stated, there's so many things that folks don't think about. They don't count up the cost of all of that in terms of the impact on family and loved ones and that sort of thing. And so I thank you for sharing that. And if you don't mind, hold up the book so folks can see, please.
Oh, yes.
All right. So that's the book. And we'll give you information, the viewers information on how they can access it later on. But you mentioned volume 1. So I assume that means there are going to be some subsequent volumes that follow.
Yes. I'm looking at, I got a few other things on the slate, on the table right now, but I am looking at a volume that looks at the totality of it, right? The ideas of the prison industrial complex, the pipeline, all of these things, how, we've looked, I examined the personal side of it. Now I want to look at the larger themes of it, in
Okay.
terms of this is what we're talking about in society. And let's call it like it is. Uh, we are the targeted audience for incarceration, right? And looking at it from a historical perspective as well. And I'll just say this quickly and I'll leave it alone, but most people don't know that in the South, there were no prisons until after 1865. It isn't until around 1867 that they start creating these prison work camps and the idea of prison. Everything primarily went through civil court. And if you committed a murder, then most likely you were simply going to be caught, found guilty, and hung. So there really was no incarceration, no prisons in the South until after slavery ends.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely would love to hear more on that. Wow. Okay. So we have several folks chiming in. Dr. Tiffany Packer is on. Dr. Dixon, my brother, she said. Uh, we also got Miss Tracy Golay on with us. Happy MLK Junior Day. Thank you, Miss Tracy, for being here. And Brother Warren, he said, I know the feeling of wanting to change after the look on my mom's face. Blessings to you, my brother. Thank you, Warren. We got Miss Letitia on. She said, wow, thanks for sharing your journey. Outside looking in, we don't see the truth. Absolutely. We absolutely don't. And then we got Miss Stacy on. She said, looking good. The red is your signature. Thank you, Stacy. So I want to talk a little bit about just your transformation, because I'm sure with, what you were doing, you didn't, maybe you had considered the possibility of, being detained and not having to do it, but you kept going, right? And so your mindset going in, having been apprehended, and again, well, we call it going on vacation, right? For 5.5 years, right? And so what was your mindset when you went in, and talk a little bit about your transformation while you were away?
Okay. First, for the first part of your question, the sad part is I didn't. Even though I had done probation, I
Mhm.
had done house arrest, right? I had been on probation, I had been on house arrest. I
Mhm.
still continued to elevate in
Mm.
in getting deeper into these negative behaviors,
Mm.
right? And
Mhm.
breaking more crimes and more serious crimes. And again, it was that lure of fast money. I was initially trapped, well, not trapped into it, but circumstances, as you dig a hole, the hole gets deeper. Some
Mhm.
of it is that you dig, some of it is that you fall, right?
Mhm.
And so quickly, I got into a situation where um, I owed a group of people a substantial amount of money,
Mm.
and so um, I went to dig myself out of it. And as I dug myself out of it, that hole that I had fallen deeper into, I just kept digging deeper, because after I got out of it, common sense should have said to get out of it completely. I
Mm.
just continued, because at that point I thought that, I had it now. Now I'm making all kind of money, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of the actual transformation, right? Um, I was a house divided. Let's call it like it is. In other words, my upbringing was still in me. A lot of the things that my parents had instilled in me were still there, because I did. I was going to class. I was doing my work. I wasn't doing the very best, but I was doing good.
Mm.
I was a solid student, but I
Mhm.
was a house divided, right? I'm going to class, doing what I'm supposed to do in class, but then at night I'm dressed in all black doing things I don't have any business,
Mm.
right? And so, and as we all know, a divided house can't stand.
Yeah.
And so, right when I thought, things were going well, and that I quote unquote had and I had control over this double life, things fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, in that transformation, we basically were, and I have to give this quick part to get you to get everyone to understand the understanding the transformation. We were in a police chase, and as a result, we basically had a major accident on Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started out in confinement. I started out in medical confinement. I'd broken my face. I'd broken my nose. I'd broken my leg in 2 places. I still have a rod in my leg to this day
Wow.
as a result of it. And so I started out in medical confinement. So it's just me, myself, and God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I started, you sitting there and you're contemplating, I'm contemplating my life, and where I am and how I got there. And first you start with the little foolish things, oh, I could have done this, oh, I could have done that, oh, we should have turned left here, we should have turned right there. But then in time, right, it gets deeper, right? It's really, how did I really get here?
Right.
And so that's when, you do all of the introspective things. And like I said, I knew I couldn't blame. I knew God that had given me a good life. I knew that I had opportunities that many people didn't get in life. And that I had blown those opportunities.
Yeah.
And that if I ever got a chance, I'd take full advantage of them if I just got one more chance at those opportunities. And so I just started, just like I didn't wake up one day and get those 5.5 years. I did things. I did probation. I did house arrest. I took the little chances they gave me, and I blew those too, right? So the same way I dug myself and got into the point where I was doing all of this crime for about 3.5 years, right? 4 years technically. I now had to practice good habits, right? And so I just started practicing good habits. I was reading everything. I read the Bible, read the Torah, read all types of things that I felt was going to help me turn my life around.
Yes, sir.
And so in doing so, I picked up on all different things that helped me, and the key for me was self-discipline, right? I truly lacked it. And so I just started doing things to give myself that self-discipline. I realized that I had gotten to the point where I was cursing every 5 words. So I stopped cursing. And then I read, that one of the more popular ways, or the oldest ways to give yourself start with self-discipline, is to give up things that you like. And so particularly food. And so I started that. I gave up pork in 94. I gave up chicken in about 99.
Okay.
And so these are just things that you do, for whatever reason you choose it is your reasoning for choosing it. But it's not just why you chose that particular thing. It's also the fact that you're choosing it for self-discipline. It's to help you get self-discipline. And so these are the things that I started doing in 1994.
Okay.
And so I think that's where I started preparing myself for the change, and preparing myself for that change also prepared me for what was coming up, right? Because initially, again, you think, oh, something gonna happen, I'm not going to prison. I can't go to prison, and then reality starts setting in. I never forget, I was still in that delusion that something was going to work out, some case, we're going to give you one more chance. And so somebody was sitting there and they were like, hey, you're going to prison, right? And I looked at him. He was like, "Come on now, you going to prison now."
I'm sorry,
And
I'm
so,
mad, but it's just like,
no, that was the real, you know. And
like,
so reality set in from that point, you know. And so I did something that, you know, people always say you have to be careful what you ask God for. You have to be careful what you pray for, right? Because you just may get it, right? And so I did pray. I said to God, you know, don't let me go till I'm ready, right? Now, I didn't know that I was asking for 5.5 years. And if I would have known I was asking for 5.5 years, I don't know if I would have made that prayer. I'm just being honest,
okay,
right?
I appreciate your honesty.
But it is what it is, and it was that prayer was made, you know, from the heart, you know, not from the mind, but from the heart, you know. And so, and the heart and the soul knows what you truly need.
Yes.
And so, from that time, I spent months in the county going, you know, getting ready for trial and whatnot. And so it was conditioning as well. You know, I've changed my life around. I'm doing these things. I'm practicing these good habits rather. And so I'm also in the county jail. You know, that's the theoretical. The practical is you in here with a whole bunch of other people that do it wrong. You in here with killers. You in here with everybody, right? And so that experience in the county kind of gave me my you know, my quick lesson to prepare myself with what was coming, right? And so when I do get to prison, and I'm going to you know, I'm going to some of the well-known, let's just say well-known. I start out at Lake Butler, and of course, Lake Butler has had its history. You know, the feds have had to come in, federal agents, government has had to come in and regulate them for inmate deaths and everything else. And so I'm there. I'm at Lake Butler for a while. So it's, you know, I'm going from Florida A&M, walking around college campus with beautiful ladies like you in class, to now I'm at one of the most infamous prisons in the country, not just, you know, in the state. And so
so I'm gonna pause you right there. I'm gonna pause you right there because we are a little more than halfway through our talk. So for those of you who are just tuning in, it's okay. I am on with Dr. Anthony E. Dixon. We are talking about From Incarceration, which is the title of his book and his journey in prison. And so right now he's talking mindset and the transformation that took place while he was in or away for 5.5 years. So talk a little bit around it. And so I know you're saying that you went to a lot of different places. So there's a shift everywhere you go, right?
yes,
Because you got to get acclimated to this climate, right? Because the prison is a whole system. I mean, each prison has their own culture, their own norms and mores and how they, you know, do things, right?
yes.
And so you got to get adjusted to all of that.
So
And you're trying to uh you are establishing this new self-discipline about yourself, right?
yes, which, you know, prison isn't just the prime place for those type of changes, you know. But it is what it is, right? And so I stuck to those principles. And so at Lake Butler, you go through your diagnostics, right? And two things occur there. The first thing is that when they make you take, of course, the educational, right? So you take it. I'm taking this test that's basically, I guess, would be the equivalent of a GED. It goes from the very basics to from 2+2 to a little bit of basic algebra, right?
Okay.
And then of course reading passages and all of that kind of stuff, reading comprehension, all of that kind of stuff, right? And so I do quite well on it, right? I just left college, so
Right.
I just got a degree. So I blow that exam out the water because I open the first page and it's 2 + 2. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I do quite well on that.
Mm-hmm.
But then what's funny is I'm looking young. I'm 22 years old. Let me see, 94, 95. Yeah, 22 going on 23. Right. And I'm all of 5 feet 4.5, 5'5". So the person takes one look at me without looking at my paperwork. They just take one look at me and say, "Wow, wait," and they stamp me as a youthful offender, right? And so they send me to a youthful offender camp. Now, most people would think, "Oh, youthful offender camp? Okay, that's not." No, a youthful offender camp that they sent me to is also what they call a gladiator school, right? This is where cliques and gangs and whatnot recruit, right? And so, and I go there in the summer, and so it's not one fight every day, it's 3 fights every day. It's 5 on 3, it's 10 on 2, it's 12 on 5.
Oh my.
And so the thing about it is, though, when my test scores come in, they go to the camp with me, right? They automatically make me teacher's aide, right? I'm teacher's aide. When I get in a hot week, the teacher, goes through she's listening to me talk, and all of that. Then she goes into my file and she realizes I have the same degree she has, right?
Okay.
So you now know what that means. I'm the teacher. So she's sitting there actually knitting for most of the day while I'm teaching. First I taught the
so you earning her check.
Yeah, I did, without a doubt.
Okay.
But I'm happy. I'm doing something I know God is telling me to do. I'm helping these brothers get to the next class so that they can take their GED. I wasn't in the GED class. I was in the adult basic education class right before the GED, what they call the ABE class before the GED.
Okay.
And so I'm getting them prepared. And so at the same time, though, I'm going a little above and beyond so that when they get in there, it's an easy transition. You get your GED, right? And so I'm at this camp for about 2 years. And so I get the respect because I'm the person that you want to see if you want to get your GED, right? Because getting your GED gets your time cut. You see? So now the practical part of it is I don't go through all of that other stuff that a lot of them are getting picked on or they're trying to recruit them for whatever.
Right.
And so I'm going to be honest with you. My hardest thing in prison, though, was officers. Officers just gave me a hard time, and I'm just going to call it like it is, particularly white officers. I got accused of all kind of things. I got thrown in the hole twice by white officers for something I didn't do. The second time, a black sergeant had to literally come get me out of the hole.
Wow.
And so that was my biggest, problem. Actually, that was my thing that I had to face, not the stabbing or the rapes or anything like that. It was actually white officers trying to back my time up and all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And so then I get transferred. I finally get my transfer that I wanted, right? And so I wanted a transfer. They gave it to me. They gave me a transfer to one of the largest prisons in the state. But I wanted to be closer to Tallahassee. I was trying to get to Tallahassee the road prison.
Right.
The road prison first.
Okay.
And so they wouldn't let me go to the road prison, but they sent me to the Panhandle. They sent me to Liberty, right?
Okay.
Right there in Liberty County.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was the real prison. Now I wonder why away, but most of them said they didn't want to go. They wouldn't go to a wild way to save their life, and I understand why. Because young people were trying to all kind of stuff to prove and everything else. Excuse me.
So it's okay. So let me pause you because I got a comment. And Brother Quasi has joined us out of Atlanta. Thank you for being here. So Janita said, I understand the barriers are real: social stigma, limited employment opportunities, housing restrictions, and emotional trauma can make reentry feel overwhelming. She said, how were you able to stay mentally intact to come up from incarceration? Which is exactly what my question was going to be, because again, as you are telling your story, you are moving from one situation to another, and it varies, right? And how are you able to, especially since you are creating your own self-disciplines, you are trying to shift your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors now, right, to the new you. And so, and you trying to survive
Right. I
the
was going to say it's a balance, because you have to understand you're still in that environment. You don't get to escape that. You're still a con. You did something to get here now.
right.
You didn't get here by mistake. You didn't get here because you did the right thing. So it's that balance, right? You learn your environment. And so when I get to the other prison, right, which is Liberty, which is the big where you got people doing 2 and 3 life sentences and all of that good stuff, right? You around everybody from pimps to murderers, right?
Right.
And so, and you got people in there. Some of my closest friends are old enough to be my father, right? And 2 of them had been down longer than I had been alive. They had been in prison more years than I had been alive. And so, again, though, my file followed me, my jacket followed me. They came and got me, put me right back into school. And so again, I'm teaching. Now I'm actually teaching the GED.
Okay.
And so to answer the question that was asked was, I understood, going through that this was God's way of preparing me for what I would be doing on the outside. And so this was actually my teaching, internship, so to speak, right? Because when I get to Liberty, before I got there, and it wasn't just me by myself, but before I got there, only 12 people had gotten their GED in like the year, right? The first time we tested, after I got there, and it was like 90 days, 52 people got their GED.
Wow.
And so I knew this was what God wanted. This is what the path that I was supposed to be on, And once again, I'm the man that's going to get you your GED. So I don't get bothered with, I don't get messed with. People respect me. I got men old enough to be my father, asking me, telling me they signed up. What can I do to make sure they get in my class? That kind of thing, because again, some people, but see, this was the other thing that I understood that helped me on my development, right? Going from the young gladiator camp to going to this camp, the GED even meant something different. I met people, for the young people, they just wanted their days off their sentence so they can just go home.
Okay.
I was meeting men who were like, listen, I get this GED. When I go back to my job, they can't keep using that against me. I know I've been on the job 10 years. People come on the job after me and they get paid more than me because they always tell me, well, they got a high school diploma. You don't.
Yeah.
See, so even those things, being around older men all the time, people my age and older, and like I said, even old enough to be my father, that was my next maturation level as well,
Right.
being around men all the time, and so I understood that even though I had this degree, at this point, a BS wasn't going to have any weight with a 5.5-year sentence. I knew getting back to FAMU was do or die.
Gotcha.
So I when I finally did get to Tallahassee to the Work Release Center, I was actually what they call permanent party first. So I was out cutting the grass in all the parks and whatnot, right? And then they let me get a job. I was working at what I call the famous Popeyes on the corner of Tennessee Street, right?
Right.
And so from that, I continued. I'd go to work every day. I started studying for the GRE. I'd put in at least 30 minutes, And so
when did you decide that's what you were gonna do?
Very early on.
You did.
When I was at the Gladiator School. And I gotta tell you this, and it's funny when you get put in that quiet place and it's just you and God, things come to you, right?
Come on now,
And so I was actually, listen now, I was actually in the hole. I was in the hole, and it came to me that I was gonna get my PhD. And I came out of the hole, and I never forget. I was still at the Gladiator camp at Lancaster, and I was standing around, and I told a group of guys, I was like, I'm gonna get my PhD. And then someone was like, yeah, buddy, will. And then someone like, come on now, buddy, PhD now. And then an officer heard us talking, and he walked up. And he was like, I hear a lot of people all the time make all kind of promises and whatnot. He was like, but I believe you, Dixon. I believe you gonna do it. And so that epiphany came to me probably at what people would consider the darkest moment, right? In my darkest times, I came and God let me know that I was going to get my PhD. And from that point, I knew then I had a goal. I didn't know how I was going to get it done or anything. And so now I got to fast forward to that. Right?
That's what I was trying to get.
I got to fast forward. Listen, I'm on FAMU's campus, right? I'm on FAMU's campus. I'm Dr. Rivers' grad assistant. I'm working with Dr. Larry Rivers. I'm working with Dr. David Jackson and Dr. Brown. And they all getting me right in terms of academically and all of that good stuff, and I'm staying on the right path, all of that good stuff, right? Okay. I come into work, right? And I come into the history department, and there's a guy standing in the corner, right? And when I walked in, they said, there he is, and I had a flashback. I was about to run. I didn't know what. Everybody just pointed at me and said, there he is. So I was about to run for a second there. I just froze. And this brother sticks his hand out to me. He says, hi, I'm Dr. David. I'm Dr. Daniel Walker. I've been waiting on you, Anthony. He was like, you're supposed to take me around today. I'm from Indiana University. I'm recruiting. And so I took him around, took him to the different classes so he can give his spiel about the history PhD program at IU. And so during that talk, he finally turns to me and he was like, what you gonna do, Anthony? I was like, oh, I'm trying to get to a PhD program. He was like, send me your stuff. And I was like, well, he was like, I'm telling you, just send me your stuff. And next thing I know, I got a free ride to Indiana University, the same Indiana University that is playing tonight against your case. And so
my God, today.
Yes, today.
Listen.
And so I
Whew.
go from Dr. Rivers' grad assistant, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do next. I just knew I was gonna get my PhD, didn't know how,
Mm,
and it was literally brought to me.
my Lord.
And I went directly. I graduated from Florida A&M with my master's in May of '01. In August, I was walking on campus in Bloomington, Indiana.
Wow. Wow. Awesome story. Janita said the whole made you whole. My. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
never heard it like that, but this is true.
Tracy Gole said the first person detail is so much more impactful. Teaching through personal experience. Yes, Tracy, thank you so much. And my new podcast cousin, Anthony, about that wallet. He's based in Baltimore. I met him this weekend at the podcast festival in Orlando. Good evening. That's the name of his podcast, About That Wallet. Thank you for being here, my brother. All right. Jen Reagan said, looking back, was there something that someone could have said to make you want to change, and to whom would you have listened? Ooh, that's a great question.
I'm gonna tell the truth on that one.
Come on, tell the truth and shame the devil.
I'm gonna tell the truth. If there's one person that I say could have done it, it was a woman.
Mm,
I started out in the SBI, and I won't call her name. It was a young woman, and I would have done. I thought that I really thought that I was gonna sweep her off her feet, and she was gonna be my wife.
mm,
So that is the one person. If she would have told me, "What are you doing? Stop all of that. You can't be with me without it." With that, I would have. But
wow.
we never got together.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah, she would have been the one impressionable person that would have made me stop all of that foolishness.
Interesting. So you never know
It
how.
would have been a it would have been a sister.
Okay.
It would have been a sister to stop me doing all of it. I
Yes.
would have I would have cut it all out for her.
Okay. All right. So we don't know the power that we have in our in our words, right? Brother
Right.
Mark, brother.
And being.
Yes, right. Brother Marcus is on down in Tampa. Thank you for joining us. And Coach Merv in Madison. Boys the Kings. Thank you for being here, Coach Merv. He said Queen Nicole just getting on playing catch up. You are the GOAT. Thank you, Coach Merv. Happy New Year to you. So gosh, I mean, there's still like more to the story, but I feel like you have really given us a great insight to, again, your transformation and your journey, which, like you said, we don't hear about this in the song, we don't hear about this in the movie. And, I feel like we got to see behind the veil, behind the cell door, you know what I'm saying? Some of the things that transpire. And so, what I heard was self-discipline. What I heard was habits. Like I have
Yes.
been checking out some audio books recently on habits, the power of habits, and how when we make up our mind and we decide we're going to do something, it can change our lives.
Yes,
And
it
it
can.
sounds like that's exactly what happened to you.
Yes, I'm a true testament for that. I,
Mm,
I will I will attest to that. You keep working it, and then it becomes you. You know, I don't um I have two sons, one that's grown, the other one is a preteen,
mhm.
and still I cook for them. I cook for the oldest one. He comes over sometimes now. I cook for them, and I cook pork chops, I cook chicken, I cook all that. I don't even think about eating it. I just cook it for them. And
Right.
that's just a an example of what once you take on that habit or no whatever habit, that positive habit it is, how it becomes you.
Mhm.
You just have to keep working it. You
Yeah.
just have to keep working it, but it becomes you. you
For
know
sure. For sure. So Marcus said a made up mind is very powerful, whether it's for good or negative reasons. Absolutely. 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 My mom, wow, what a show, what a story. Thank you, Ma. So tell us, if you don't mind, in your own words, and you already mentioned it at the beginning, but what are you really wanting people to get from this book and from your story?
The two main things I want young people to get the other side, the true side of what happens when you start living the thug life, right? I want you to hear not the little glorious stuff that people talk about with the women and all the materialistic things you buy and the money and the lifestyle that you may or may not that you're chasing, right? Because that's what you're doing, you're chasing it. I want you to hear the flip side of it. I want you to know what happens. I want you to know what it feels like to be handcuffed to a wall, to have to eat off the floor, to be wondering when somebody is going to send you a letter, when somebody going to come see you, what your friends doing, what your family doing out there. Your family went on this vacation, or they went to this family reunion, or your sister went here, your cousin went there. You wish you could have gone there. They go in places that you only can dream of at this point, you know, and even the little tangible things. The first time I got in a car, I actually got sick because I made a mistake and looked down at the ground, and I hadn't been in a car. And the first time I got in a car, it was almost 4 years. Well, it was 2.5 and then 4, right? So those types of things, all of those things, you know, all of the things that are on the flip side of what they never tell you. And so that's the first thing that so that you can make a clear decision. Is this truly what you want to do? Is this truly worth it? You know? And then the second reason I wrote it was for the families, you know, so you can see the behaviors, you can hear the things that they're saying, see the behaviors, and hopefully you can catch it. You know, you understand what they just said. When they say something, you say, I don't know what that means, and you move on, you now understand, wait a minute, how does he know what that means? Why would he say that? That means you know this. That means you've been doing that. You see what I'm saying? So it's for the young people as a cautionary tale and give them the whole story and dispel some of those myths. But then it's also for families to understand, here are some of the telltale signs that you can see and some of the things you can head off before they end up like I did.
Awesome. And I think also that you can come up from incarceration.
Yes.
And be successful and do greater works. Your life is not over. The opportunities are still there. You can still get a full ride to get a PhD after incarceration. It can happen.
I never forget this short poem that I read, and it always stuck with it. It was very short. It said, 2 men look out from beyond jail bars. One sees the mud, the other one sees the stars. And so that always stuck with me, you know, that I was always going to keep my head up. I had done this to myself. I'm not getting ready to sit here and blame anybody else. I'm just going to pick myself up and get it right, you know? And so it's not the mistakes you make, is what you do after them. And that's what we have to keep our young people and people in general to understand that.
Absolutely.
Because you can fall 7 times, but you get back up. You get back up.
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. Brother Quasi, do you think that a master plan can be implemented to change the prison system overnight to be less dangerous and more productive or educational for inmates? I don't know about overnight.
It won't happen overnight, but here's the thing, right? Around the 1970s, going into the 80s, they changed the mantra of incarceration. It went from primarily rehabilitation to punitive. And so we first have to get that mantra to go back. We have to go back to rehabilitating.
Yeah.
You know, we say rehabilitation, but the basic mantra still hasn't changed yet. It's still primarily punitive.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone that gets incarcerated or goes to prison, even though they are getting out, they don't get an opportunity to get their GED. They'll tell them, you too short. Well, it's a long list by the time you get in there, but we got a job for you. You can go out there, you could be you could work in the supply room, you could work in the laundry room, you gonna work these jobs, you gonna work. But you may or may not get a chance to get a GED that's gonna help you change your life around.
Yeah.
See,
and
that's that switch, right? From rehabilitation to punitive.
Got it. Okay. Well, again, we could talk for another hour, but I know people want to watch this game. So, all right. So, tell the people. I think you already gave us our closing remarks, which is what you hope folks get from the book. Tell the folks how they can connect with you and where they can get this book from.
Well, they can follow me on social media. TikTok at profaedixon.com, Facebook Anthony Dixon, Instagram profaedixon at profaedixon. And for the book, two primary places. You can go to my website. That's profaedixon.com/books. Now, if you get a book from my website, all of my books that are garnered from my website, they come autographed, or you can simply get my books from Amazon.
Okay, very good. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Wow. Powerful, powerful story, powerful testimony. I hope you all benefited from this and definitely connect with Dr. Dixon and get the book. Get the book, because we just had the top of the iceberg, I feel, conversation. We got a little deep a couple times, but I'm sure that there's more to the story that we did not cover tonight. So definitely connect with him. Definitely, um, see what's behind the veil and what you may be able to protect. Maybe your love from maybe drop a seed, plant a seed, water a seed that will deter them from going down a road and a lifestyle of crime that could lead them into a place that they don't want to be.
And you end up sometimes getting in that cycle where you completely throw your life away. And so, and if there's anyone who works with young people, work with young people, juveniles, not just juvenile offenders, but juveniles, period, second chance, whatever the case may be, I do show up. I come, I talk to them. They ask me to get there. Sometimes I tell you, well, you're a little far away from me, just help me get there, but
Right.
I'll show up. I will show up.
So Dr. Dixon is in the Orlando area for those of you who may be curious about that, but he will show up to Tallahassee and some other places. So definitely connect with him. Janita said, thanks for sharing your story. Thank you, Janita. Again, I hope that you all benefited from this. And let's keep this conversation going, seriously, because we didn't get into this part of the conversation, but when you and I talked, Dr. Dixon, you mentioned that you were very much so a follower before you fam. And so there may be some followers, some young people that are followers and can find themselves in a world of hurt, following behind, fast money or trying to live this lifestyle that they see on
videos,
right,
or hearing music or on some movie.
Yes. Yes. So, and we don't want that for our young people. They got so much potential, so many great and wonderful things inside of them that they need to be doing. So, again, share this link with somebody else, and you may help save a life. For real, for real. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Dixon, for being on here and for sharing your story, and all the best with the book. Look forward to getting my own copy, as well as the subsequent volumes to follow. Because listen, the things that you talked about for these other volumes, the larger things, us being the targeted audience, the historical perspectives, the um school, the prison pipeline, all of that sort of stuff. And I'm sure the history, some of the history that you've thrown out just today about prisons in the South not existing until after 1865, and prisons in the 70s shifting from rehabilitative to punitive. And I know you got all the history related to all of that. So look forward to hearing more about that. All right. Marcus has reminded me that I got to tell y'all that Conversations with Nicole is on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. So I invite folks to subscribing and supporting, and we need all the support we can get. So yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right. All right. Well, we're gonna call it a night, and we're gonna see how these hurricanes do.
That's what I said. I told him, I was like, I'm torn because I've been a Hurricane fan since the 80s.
Mhm. But where you got that degree from?
That's what I'm saying, and I want that campus,
Listen. All right, Marcus, thank you so much. I love you too, brother. Thank you. I appreciate your support. I really, really do. All right, Dr. Dixon, again, thank you. We're gonna have to have
Thank
you.
you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, y'all have a good one, and we will see y'all soon. Peace.
God bless. One love.
Yeah.